So imagine you were born hundreds of years ago and your whole life you've been told certain stories, and your whole environment, all the people around you believe in the same things, the same stories about God and heaven and hell, and you of course would never question it. You would never come up with a different view. And if I would even tell you, it's like telling a fish what's water. For a fish it's not really imaginable what is water, because in order to point to water, the fish needs to be outside of water, and he has never seen that. It could be even dangerous to even challenge that story, because it would shatter the foundation of core beliefs. People would get maybe even angry and punish a person who would challenge this godlike story. Yet interestingly, if you see it from the other way around, if we would grow up with a different story, the story of being united with everything, that everything is one, and then someone would come to us and tell us about separation, we would also be very confused, like not being able to understand what he means, the story of separation, what? So the experience would be identical. So for me the question arises, how can we know on which side we are? And I'm using the word story here very deliberately as like a fairy tale, it's something we tell children, because we just need some simplified way of looking at reality. We need abstractions and models, which we then unfortunately often confuse with reality itself. We try to explain reality with the help of our very limited and subjective human experience. Yet I would say it's important to see that models are just models, and they will never allow us to fully comprehend reality for what it is. But before I'm going to really start, I want to mention two disclaimers. One is, it's like in the movie The Matrix, where they say after a certain age it's not wise to disconnect a person from the Matrix, because it's just dangerous. Dangerous for the ego to acknowledge that it doesn't exist, at least not as a separate entity. It's not healthy because it's just too much to change, it's too big of a paradigm shift. We need to first remove the old stories, which means removing our foundation, our base of reality, losing the ground underneath which keeps us safe. So enlighten an older person which is already so much attached to the ultimate belief of ego as a manifest entity is dangerous. It's not able to see that the ego is just a mental construct, an emergent property of a super complex structure we call the brain. And the second disclaimer has also to do with, Timothy Leary called it ego death, after being in a state induced by LSD, which can be very scary because we experience that we die, or at least our ego dissolves, which comes close to a death. This can cause severe anxieties and, in its best case, some resistance, which can also potentially arise when I'm going to say what I'm about to say. And I say these things by using language, words. And words require separation, because words is concepts, it's definitions, and a definition, by definition, is something which separates one from the other. It's slicing off little parts from reality. So language itself is a manifestation of thinking and separation. It relies on the illusion of separation. And please don't get me wrong, I think language is an incredibly useful tool. I love it so much, but be aware that it's just a tool, nothing more. Again, it's an abstraction, it's a model of reality, not reality itself. So using language seems a little bit of hitting a barrier. When I say, for example, there is one, this statement implies that there is another, or there is a none, or there is a two. In Taoism, therefore, they say, the Tao that can be told of is not the absolute Tao. In Christianity, God also has therefore no name, because if he would have a name, it would be a limitation, it would be separate from whatever there is. But God and Tao is everything and nothing and beyond. So these things can't be captured by words, they can't be confined because of the nature of words, which is separation. I would say the Zen Buddhist guy figured it out. They said that there is no way to talk about it, to conceptualize about it. So therefore, to really figure out what is reality, the only way to get there is by direct experience, because words and language they're just not the proper tool for it. Sometimes, therefore, I would prefer to call it just a blob, or just make some sound which has no meaning, because I would say that's only how far we can get. Yet I try to do it by using words. In our modern scientific world, our way of looking at reality is more an exoteric view, like exoskeleton, like Greek for outer, outside, outer part. It's like this structure of our language: subject, predicate, object. So the scientist, the subject, would look, the predicate, the wall between the subject and the object, at a thing, an entity, and separate entity, in order to be able to make objective statements. It's all great, but on the other hand, the word esoteric, in its literal meaning, it means unity or oneness. The Greek word eso means within. So the scientist is within the thing it observed. It's all one. So the wall, the separation is gone. Everything is interconnected, which also would show in quantum mechanics. There's this double slit experiment where they would ask a question: is light something like waves or particles? So in one scenario, they would shoot through wall with two openings, with two slits, and on the other side, on a projection surface, there would be interference pattern, meaning it's more like a wave, it behaves like a wave. And then they try to measure it, to observe it, and suddenly it would change into single impact spots, indicating it behaves like a particle. So the conclusion was what they nowadays call a wave-particle duality. The moment we observe it, it has an impact, it changes. We are part of the equation. It's like a bird watcher also knows, like, I need to hide myself because otherwise the birds will see me and they will behave differently. Or when I just have some activity I need to perform, when people will watch me, it might improve or actually make my performance worse, depending on circumstances. So we can't take ourselves out of this equation. We are part of it. We are esoteric, not exoteric. There's this story of a cat and the fence. Imagine a big fence, and there's one little gap, and the cat is walking from left to right. So you see first the head and then the tail, turns around, walks the other way around, and you see head and tail. So you would conclude, based on our current approach of cause and effect, when there is head, there will be tail. Two separate events. But have you ever tried to cut off the head of a cat and then try to study it? Well, shit, it's dead now. So that doesn't really work to study a cat, to separate it into its separate entities of head and tail. So if we would remove that fence, which is kind of the mind, we would see the whole cat instead of separating it. Like the sciences itself are separated, we can count them. Does it make sense? Yes, I would say so. It's useful, it's like the words. There is a spoon, right? There is you, there is me. Take it seriously, but not literally, please, because it doesn't really reflect reality, because reality in the universe doesn't come bitten into pieces. That's something we humans do. We draw a line somewhere arbitrary to separate one from the other, to be able to study it, and it's all great and useful, but I wouldn't say it's reality. It's like, take waves of an ocean. Yes, there are lots of separate waves, we can count them and point to them, but in the end it's just one big ocean, just water, right? And the waves, what we call a wave, is more a description of formation of molecules. It's a pattern. It's not an entity on its own. It's like the same with sound waves. There is indeed something underneath, a physical relation to that word, where molecules are placed either near or further away, but the concept of a wave is something which the mind creates by creating a pattern. It creates the wave. I mean, matter itself is also just a pattern of wobbly energy. So you have this one big blobby ocean, and we can't do anything with it because it's just like water and a fish, right? So it's the mind dissecting it into small pieces. It's like throwing a net over an ocean. So in order to be able to count it, to refer to it, to point to it, have an XY coordinate system and say left, right, top, bottom. So we bite reality into pieces, into little chunks. If we would remove the net, and the net being the mind, we would see that it's just one big ocean. So the mind again constructing an illusion of separation. Same also with leaves of a tree. We obviously can see there's one big trunk, lots of branches and even more leaves. And then the one leaf would say to the other leaf, hey, what's up with you? I don't like you. Which is kind of strange because that leaf can't see that it's connected to the other leaves through the branches being one big tree. So basically we are all leaves of the same tree. And then again we could go that far and say one tree is the same as the other tree because it's just one big forest, and underneath there is this fungi, this network of mycelium connecting the whole thing together. Reminds me of the movie Avatar. If we look underneath, we see that everything is connected with each other, literally. Also like seeing a hair on our body and one hair telling the other hair, hey, what's up? You're really fat. Like, it doesn't understand that it's actually not separate. It can't point to it because the hair can't see that underneath it's connected. It's one big organism. It's all you. I mean, even more zoomed in, you would see that we are just a composition of about 30 trillions of cells. And every cell being separated, and then still there's this experience of one big you organism. If we zoom out very far into the star system, where do we draw the line? Where are the boundaries? Where can we say precisely where the star system begins and where it ends? I would say it's a rather arbitrary agreement because it's difficult. There's so much empty space in between. There's just like big rocks flying around the one gigantic hot ball, and then somehow trying to figure out where it's like its outer boundaries. It's like the same if we zoom in very far in the microcosm, the same. Like there's skin, cells, molecules and atoms, and there's mostly empty space in between. I once read that if you would compress the human body to only matter, it would be 3 millimeters high, because there's more space than there's matter. So imagine that if you fly with this super tiny submarine through the air, and when would you cross the boundary? When would you go through the skin? When can you say exactly, now I'm outside, now I'm inside? So this atom, within an atom, the core is super tiny, and this electron orbiting around, it's like the solar system. Right? Quantum physics actually say that the Bohr model of electrons orbiting around is not really true. It's all just wave functions and whatever, but the idea is that it's just difficult to draw the line. It's just a matter of zooming in or zooming out. It's a changing of level of magnification, and when we zoom in far enough, everything becomes really blurry. It seems reality is more like one huge soup, blurry, wobbly, and just a blob. It's like when Milky Way and Andromeda, two galaxies in about 4.5 billion years, will merge together. It's said there won't be many collisions because it's mostly just empty space anyways. So where is the beginning and the end of a star system of a hand? It seems more like everything is a fluent transition. Whether it's the subatomic level or the cosmic distances, there is no clear line. There is no separation of waves and ocean, leaves, a tree, hair, or body. Sciences separate in disciplines. Even movement is separated in techniques, music into notes, and drawing into shapes. Of course, we are not hair or leaves. We are not connected. There are no roots underneath human bodies which connect them together. Still, there is this clear distinction of you and me, right? But what if you could go beyond three-dimensional space-time? There might be, and something we can't see, some sort of interconnectedness. Ultimately with the whole universe, if you think about gravity and its force will never just disappear, it just gets less through space, but never completely is gone. So it seems to me that we are more like leaves. We are human beings of the same tree of a universe, being even part of a bigger organism, like a forest, which then would mean something like a multiverse, I don't know. It's like infinitely branching off like a network, the pattern of arteries or thunder, roots, or when you look very closely at the leaf, and one of these little branches at the end is you. It's like the Big Bang, and everything after it still going on, a process, and one part of it is you. So if we would destroy our planet, destroy the universe, we would destroy ourselves, because we are it We are God. You are. I am. Everything is. Trump is God. Putin is God. Hitler is God. Jesus Christ, Allah, Buddha, everything is God. Everyone is God. And somehow I don't get it why people think instant karma has to do with someone punishing someone, legislative view on it. Because if we are all one, when I hit the wall, the pain I feel is created by myself. I do it to myself. It's not someone punishing me from the outside for it. And Jesus Christ figured it out, right? When he said, I am God, he got killed. Bad luck there. Blasphemy. No, I don't think that he said it out of an inflated ego state, that he's above everyone and everything. I think it's the ultimate insight of we are all God. And I use God as a placeholder here, like the Dutch philosopher Spinoza, for nature and universe and oneness. And then I hit again this limitation of language. Because language is definition, is words, and like, So I think that the separation is artificial yet useful. Yes, there are separate things, but only on the level of magnification of humans. I would not pay too much attention on what's the absolute truth, because believing in separation means there's this isolation which leads to loneliness. I'm cut off from this huge universe. I'm so lonely, and millions and billions of years before and after me, and there's this single insignificant isolated me. I will die. I will cease to exist, being forgotten, that's for sure. Well, that's depressing. I rather would choose for a more pragmatic point of view, where I choose to believe in unity. Everything is one, everything is God, everything is Tao. I think that's a better outcome, like looking at it from a psychological point of view. The separation is useful, yes. It's an amazing great tool, like language. Because without it we wouldn't really progress as a human species. But be aware that it's not more than that. It's a model, it's an abstraction of reality, but not reality itself.